Welcome back, everyone, to the Real Health Talk podcast. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm really good.
Back in business together.
Yes.
Lots changed since last time.
Yep.
I've got a new podcast.
Yep.
You've got your community ticking off.
Yep.
And you're now a bass player.
Yes.
What's going on there?
Well, the last time that we desired to record, we didn't end up pressing record because I just picked up the bass, you picked up the guitar, and we just started jamming. And then you were like, bro, play this, play this, play this. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's making sense actually. And then you just started ripping on guitar, and next thing you know, we were jamming. And then I was like, okay, I think this is something.
Yeah.
So then, we were literally just in the room before jamming for a good hour, and my fingers are quite sore now. So yeah, it feels good. And yeah, something that we're going to talk about today is devotion to the practice and finding a hobby that really allows you to just get out of your head for a minute and get into your body and get into that flow state, and not to think about too much, but just the practice that's in front of you and how beautiful of a ritual that is, whether or not you're good at it, whether or not it looks good, or it doesn't have to be health related, or it doesn't have to be a physical practice, but something that just allows you to fully devote yourself into that trance state, that flow state, whether it's painting, whether it's playing bass, whether it's reading a book, whether it's, even like making a puzzle, like something that it just allows you to be fully in it and immersed in the experience of it without attaching to the outcome of it needing to look a certain way or give you something back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, it's cool, and I appreciate that. You can teach me a new skill, and it feels good to just embody that. And yeah, I mean, music's always been a huge part of my life, and I've always wanted to play, but I've just never felt like I was able to do it because I just didn't devote myself to the practice. So it's been fun, man.
Yeah. And it's like one of those things that, so I've been playing since I was 5 years old. I've been playing guitar. And yeah, it's one of those things that I guess it kind of just like took for granted growing up. And then also just what an escape it is in a lot of ways. A good type of escape where, as you said, I can just find flow. Like I've got my guitars in my room, and then in between a call, I'll just pick it up and just start playing for like 10 minutes and just completely lose myself from what I was thinking about, and just get that other hemisphere of the brain working and get, that flow state. And what you were saying before, I even heard a guy talking about this last week, and he was just saying, even if you just live life with a little bit of amusement, that can get you into a flow state. So if you just go about your day with like a little smirk on your face, just like having a little giggle to yourself at all the things that are happening, all of a sudden that just completely shifts the energy that you're in. And it's also like more of a creative state that you're able to create from in every aspect of life, not just in work, but in relationships and in your personal growth. And I think that's a big thing that we spoke about this morning in the drive on the way here, is that everyone's so focused on the outcome of everything that they get into, whether it's climbing the ladder at work, whether it's even like in relationships, finding the perfect partner, which I know we want to talk about too, health, it's getting to the stage where I'm finally healthy, but you can't control outcomes fully. And this is where like having a really strong belief system is key, because you need to have this mad belief in yourself. We were talking about it last night when we were putting the sauna together. Like LeBron, look at him and the success that he's had. Look at every high performance athlete that's ever been considered the greatest. They've had this crazy belief in themselves, and you can translate to your life. You don't have to be a professional athlete,
Of course.
but you can think, I'm going to have this crazy belief that I'm just going to get the best out of me every single day, no matter what that looks like. It doesn't have to be something that's measurable. It doesn't have to be something that other people can see, but you know that like going into your day that you've got a really strong intention with what you're trying to create. And that's also the beginning of entering the work, like doing the breath work, doing the meditation, doing the journaling, doing the tapping, the somatic work, the nervous system work. You're not going to control the outcome. You're not going to all of a sudden say, oh, my trauma's healed, or this is gone, this is resolved, this is processed. All you can do is go into it controlling the intention. And that's especially the case with like breath work, and especially the case with psychedelics as well. So they're both healing modalities, but again, you don't know what's going to come up for you. You don't know what your subconscious has got in store for you.
Yep.
And you can't control it. And when you try to control it, that's when shit goes wrong. If you think about it in psychedelics, that's where the ego death is.
Oh.
And that's where the pain is as well. And
Mm.
the other thing that happened last week was I think I'm going to go back to uni to finish off my master's in neuroscience because, I had that big realization. I filmed a podcast for school the other week about healing your brain from drugs, but then also in doing that, I was going into the research again regarding how you can use them in a very positive way to heal. And that was something that I was always interested in, is like the field of psychopharmacology, where in Johns Hopkins University in the US, they're using psychedelics to help people through issues, through blocks that are there. But again, that's just like one tool. What we were saying is like bringing yourself back to the practice and realizing that whatever you find, whatever you use, it's not there to get you to the end point. It's there to allow you to show up each day and have a really strong presence.
Yeah, and that's so beautifully said. And something I often speak about with my clients, and I've spoken about it to you as well, is like detaching from the evidence of whether or not the thing that you're actually practicing is working or not. Because the evidence is always the thing that catches up last. So how do we know if grounding is working? Right now we have our feet on the earth, we're out in the sun, we're getting injected with a heap of infrared light, but there's no evidence to tell us right now it's working. But if we attach to the evidence, then we're only ever doing something for the evidence of it needing to work because we're in lack of whatever it is that we're trying to chase. And so then when we attach to the evidence and the evidence doesn't appear, then you detach yourself from the process because you're attached to the evidence. And so this is where I'm teaching my clients to devote yourself to the practice, to fall in love with the practice, not the outcome, and certainly not the evidence. Because there'll be one day when you wake up and all of the practices that you have devoted yourself to will slap you in the face with the evidence and you're like, oh my God, it's here. It's now here. It's now embodied in my physical self, but also my nervous system and also my psyche and my soul and my heart. It's here. It's a true embodiment of all the practice that I've devoted myself to. But the moment that you attach to that evidence, it's a slippery slope because you're constantly then chasing validation of it needing to work. And so therefore, I invite my clients to have a devotional practice to health, whatever that looks like for them, but to have a devotional practice outside of health, making bread, playing bass, that allows them to detach from health as this thing that they're chasing, but actually remove themselves from it needing to always be a healthy practice and actually enjoy something that you simply love. Now that can be a slippery slope as well because we can be then choosing things that aren't healthy to devote ourselves to. And again, something like, getting into like whiskey, for example. Like you could devote yourself to getting into whiskey and you could go, oh, like Zach said, I'm devoting myself to a practice and I'm going to choose whiskey as the medium. Now that might be an unhealthy choice, but then again, it depends on the context of how you're using it as well.
Think of the Chexter with his backy.
Yeah, the Chexter with his tobacco is a great example. I fucking love that you brought that up. Like he's devoting himself to the practice, but then he's choosing it in a way that doesn't have the same effect as like smoking tobacco. He's obviously vaporizing it. So if you're devoting yourself to something like whiskey, maybe it's like you're collecting whiskey, for example, and you're getting into it and you're researching about it, but you're not necessarily consuming it as a distraction from something else. So there is obviously nuance to all of this, but again, devote yourself to health as the practice to simply just embody it and be in it. But also, I really invite people to have something outside of health as a hobby that they can devote themselves to as well.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think what you're saying then about the expectation and the evidence, a really good analogy for that is like you dragging a boulder up a hill.
Yep.
So initially, you're dragging that boulder up the hill and it's fucking hard work and it feels like you're getting nowhere. And you keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. But eventually you get to the top of the hill and then all of a sudden it's got to go down the other side. And to go down the other side, it's a breeze because it's got all the momentum and it does it itself. And that's what looking after your health and being on the journey can feel like, where you're doing all this work, but like you're not getting any results yet. You're not getting any results yet. But again, come back to the practice. And then all of a sudden one day, you're going to get to that point where all of a sudden you've got so much momentum and these things have been building up in the background. Another way to think of it is planting something in the ground.
Yeah.
It's growing. You don't see it growing. And then all of a sudden it comes out of the ground, and then you see it and you're like, holy shit. And you realize that's been happening the whole time. And it might be that your skin is what you're trying to focus on, and your skin's still there. It's still there. It's still inflamed. You've still got acne. It's still there. You're eating clean. You're taking your probiotics. You're supporting your gut health. You're doing all the things. You're getting in the sun, and you're doing it for months, and you expected it to be 4 weeks. But all of a sudden it gets to week 10 or whatever it is, and then it's cleared up. And you didn't see that gradual process that I had to get there. But then eventually you see the result and you're like, holy shit, it worked. And that's, I guess, a bit of a mindset to have with anything that you do, is like you don't actually know when that breakthrough point is going to come all the time.
Yep.
Which is why, again, you can't control the outcome of it. You can only control the intention, and having the right intention is going to allow you then to have good energy, which is then going to have an ability to manifest and have a strong placebo effect.
Yeah, beautiful. And for me, that devotional practice was two things that I wasn't attaching to the evidence, but simply just devoting to the practice, was surfing and reading. Those were two things in the last 3 years that I wasn't good at. And I knew I always wanted to be a surfer. I grew up bodyboarding, and I've mentioned this on the podcast a few times. And then the moment that I moved down here to the surf coast, I got myself a foamy, and I just didn't get any lessons. I didn't research anything. I literally just got the board and I went out in whitewash because I knew I was confident in the water, but I didn't know how to surf. But I'm like, I'll figure it out because I just want to be out there. And, the first day I got up on my knees and then on my feet, and I felt like a kook, and still feel like a kook to this day.
But playing the bass.
Like playing the bass, feel like a kook, but then I started to get it. And then next thing you know, after months and months of going out there on the foamy, practicing just to simply be out there in the ocean, next thing you know, I can pop up and I can stand up and I can go down the line. I'm like, this is all starting to make sense to me. Next thing you know, I buy the wetsuit. Next thing, like a good wetsuit, a good board, and start researching a little bit more about like, okay, like if I was to choose this board on this wave, would that allow me to do a little bit of this? And then you start hanging around more surfers, and then you start watching surfers and how they start to do it. And you start to build your character and your identity around now being a surfer. You're devoting yourself to it. And then 3 years later, I'm now choosing what board I want to ride. I understand the winds and the tides and the swell. I know exactly what time the surf is going to be good at this particular location, at this particular point break. And I'm like, I understand it now. But again, I'm still not attaching to the outcome of whether or not I'm going to get waves today. I'm just still being out there. And the paradox of all of that, man, is if you can go out there and detach from the evidence of needing to get waves, you're going to get the best surf of your fucking life. I promise that. Because you're simply just out there to be out there. And then reading books is another example. Remember when you and I started really hanging out, I was like, fuck, you've got all of these beautiful books. Like, I've never been a big reader. I've always been like podcasts and YouTube. And then I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna give this reading thing a crack. And like, my brain was a little bit scattered and I couldn't concentrate, and it was really hard for me to finish a book. But then 3 years later, after just picking up a book, not needing to know the information, but to just be in the practice of reading, I'm now a competent and confident reader. And now I can smash through books, but it also makes sense to me, the information that I'm receiving. I'm not going in it to be like, teach me the thing that you're trying to teach me. I need to learn it all. I'm just like, just read to be in it.
It's exactly like that Alan Watts quote around music. You don't listen to music to get to the end of the song.
True,
you listen to music to experience it. You don't read a book to say, I've read that book.
Exactly.
You read it because of what's in it.
Yep.
And you're not actually, when you're in it, you're not realizing usually that you're in it. You're reading it and you're like, fuck, I've still got another 200 pages to go, because you want to finish it.
Yeah.
You're focused on the outcome. And obviously the outcome has a lot of connection to the external validation that's associated with that too.
Yeah.
Think about weight loss. Like, most people want to lose weight because they care about how other people view them initially. But then when you restore your relationship with yourself, you're like, actually, I just want to look after myself and feel good about how I look and feel good internally. So it's mirrored back to you. And again, how can you be present? And we've spoken about this in so many episodes around awareness and around presence. But again, having something that you can go into without being fully attached to the outcome, whether it's playing music, whether it's painting, doing art, whether it's going for a surf, whether it's going and playing golf, sport, or exercise, movement, whatever it is, just something that you can get lost in. That is the key. That is where the flow state is. And that's where you lose your sense of time. And we spoke about that before when we were playing guitar. Like last week we played for like an hour and a half and we finished playing and we're like, holy shit, bro, that was an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Felt like 20 minutes had passed because you lose that sense of time because you're in it.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And again, that is similar to what you think about with breath work, with meditation. They're practices for you to get into flow and lose that sense of time in a sense so that you can then reset and go back into the intention that you set yourself for. And it continues to allow you to have that feeling of, oh yeah, now I'm back. But for most people, because it's the grind and because they're doing shit that they don't like and they can't find flow, the days feel like they go so quickly. The days feel like they go quickly.
Yeah.
In the day feels like it's going so slow. Yeah. And then when you get home from work, it's like, why did that go so quickly?
Yeah.
But the 9 hours that you're sitting there at your desk, it's a slow burn that you can't get through. But again, it's because you're doing things that you don't care about, you're doing things that you don't love, and you're doing things that you don't have any passion for.
Oh, perfectly said. And then you and I expanded on that conversation and we spoke about joy, fun, humor.
Dr. Happiness.
Dr. Happiness.
Go back to the GOAT, Mr. Check, and the Check system. There's Dr. Quiet, Dr. Movement, Dr. Diet, but all of them come second to Dr. Happiness, which is tied to what is your dream, goal, or objective.
Yep.
And where is that part of you that gets to play and gets to go into that inner child mode? Because that's what so many people are missing.
Yeah.
They don't have an ability to, again, this comes down to when you're in flow, you've got that childlike energy back. And it's crazy when you find that. You can be having the worst slow dragging day as possible where you feel like you've got no energy, you haven't slept well. Then all of a sudden something that you love starts, like music, or you start reading a book that you like, or playing an instrument or playing sport, whatever it is, and you get lost in that and you just find all this energy that was just sitting there the whole time because you're doing something that you love, you're doing something that gives you joy and gives you happiness.
Yeah.
Or you're with someone.
Yes.
This is the best way to think of it is like you've got friends that after you see them, you need to sit on the couch, and you've got friends that after you see them, you're ready to run a fucking marathon.
Yeah.
And I think about like some of the people in my life, like you when I hang out with you, Eugene when I hang out with him, Tadsy when I hang out with him, like I'm ready to go to war. I'm like G'd up, I'm inspired, I'm motivated, I'm energized.
Yeah.
And that's because there's really strong alignment that's there and you're with people who are giving and it's an equal exchange of giving. Whereas there's some people that you can feel it straight away, they're energy drainers and you're with them and you're like, fuck, I need to sit down after that. And that's the balance of understanding, okay, who are you surrounding yourself with and are they allowing you to step into joy and step into that inner child?
Yeah, so true. And then if we think about like in recent times, I believe that health has become rigid and boring. And as much as I love everything that you and I do and embody, I also love to have a good time. And not the good time of old Zach and old Jordan, but the good time of what brings me joy now. Going up to the court and just shooting hoops and playing one-on-one, playing bass, like setting up the fucking sauna last night, just like laughing like little boys. Going down to the beach and remember that day you, me and Eugene were wrestling on the beach, like being little boys and being kids. I went and hung out with a mate, shout out to Sam Crawford. We went over to Mornington the other week and we just went like hiking like on rock faces and just to find a little swimming hole. And it was just 2 hours of just joy and laughter and funny conversations and humor. like humor is something I believe that it is lost right now. It's like a lost art, and how much humor is deeply rooted in humans as one of our main values. We love to laugh, we love to have a good time, and if we take it away to focus on an outcome of health and we lose the element of joy and the element of laughter, it's like, well, then Dr. Happiness is no longer there because we're so focused and so attached to health being this thing because we've been in lack of it for so long that we actually then choose a way of practicing health that is now not fun.
And the universe is that to a T. The universe is there, is the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Not the funniest thing in the universe, because it's constantly going to get you.
Yeah.
It's constantly going to get you back.
Yeah.
And it's going to make you laugh. And you're going to fight it, you're going to fight it, you're going to fight it. But eventually you're going to start laughing at those situations.
Of course.
Oh, here I am again. Here's that version of me. And you begin to lessen that intensity that's there. And when you see it in its purest form, you think of Lenny. Like Lenny's just pure consciousness. He hasn't had any indoctrination yet. He hasn't had any conditioning on him. He's just pure awareness and consciousness looking back at you. Like he is a reflection of love and the universe. And it's the same when you see like an animal. Like they're pure presence, pure joy, and they're the purest form of energy.
Yeah.
But then as you age and you get indoctrinated and you get all that conditioning on top of you, you become heavier and you become denser.
Yep.
And the sicker you become, the more dense you become. The people that are light are the ones that are in joy most of the time and that have the ability to laugh and find the humor. But you can see some people and you're just looking like that person just never laughs. That person just does not have a good time. You can just see it. You don't even have to don't even have to ask them anything. You can just see it, the energy, the vitality that someone holds. And that's I made a post about it this week. I said, these are the true signs of health. And I said, being able to hold eye contact in a conversation, animals come up to you, not wearing shoes and having space in between your toes, being able to sing, being able to laugh, being able to cry, like all these things. That is the true essence of health because you're your purest form and you're expressing what's there. And as you said, the health space has really forgotten that that is the key that we're trying to aspire to. We're not trying to become the healthiest person with the best blood work, with the best gut health, with the best immune system. We want to become the best version of us that can live that life. And in doing so, you realize that and you break it down that, yes, Dr. Happiness is the key that so many people are missing. And so many people aren't going to coach you on that. No one's going to tell you, oh, I want you to find more joy in your life or more creativity or more flow, because they're not ready to have that conversation because they probably haven't reflected on it themselves. And that's the trap with even in the holistic space. Now it's, okay, what's the next protocol? What's the next supplement? This, that. It's this continual rat race of getting better. And that's a good way to live in terms of having that mindset of I still want to feel better. I want to grow. I don't want to become stagnant. But at the same time, if it's this trap of, okay, what's next, and it's outsourcing rather than reflecting on what you want, then you're going to continue to feel lost and you're never going to feel like you've actually become content with how things are. You want to be content and you want to be satisfied, but you also want to continue to chase. And that's what the great man talks about, Bob Proctor.
Yeah.
He's like, you never want to become stagnant to the point where you just accept things as they are. You want to be able to embrace and show up with gratitude for what the life that you live, but continuously allowing yourself to grow and find the next version of you and continue to evolve. But it's because you're alive. And once you stop doing that, you become catabolic and you start losing that vitality.
Yeah. The word that comes up for me there is curiosity. It's like if you are stagnant, then you've lost curiosity. If you're curious, it means you still desire to be on the adventure. What does the adventure look like? And a curious mind is someone that can be happy with where they're at, but also, what else is there? And I love that way of thinking because what it reminds me of, it's like, it doesn't get any better than what it does right now, but it only gets better.
There never is anything other than what there is right now.
No.
All there is the present moment.
That's it. But we can have both. And so that quote is, it doesn't get any better than what it does right now. True, but it only gets better. Is curiosity. Because you're then not attaching to what's next. You're actually in the present moment of the now, but you're also like, I'll allow more, please. Universe, I'll have some more, thank you. But you're not manifesting or asking the universe for more. You're just like, yeah, I'll have some more, thank you.
There's a knowingness to
There's
it.
a knowingness, there's a trust,
Mm.
and there's a curiosity that I believe as humans we've lost the ability to be curious. What does it feel like to be curious? What does it feel like to be in the here and the now, like Ram Dass would say, but also be curious about what's to come, all well knowing that you're trusting it's only good, but all well knowing if it's not good, you're okay with it as well.
And you're living that now because you've got Lenny experiencing things for the first time.
Exactly.
And that brings you back into it to realize, hang on a second, like, why aren't I appreciating the simple things? Why aren't I appreciating the sun? Why aren't I appreciating animals, toys, colors? It's so fresh and it's so novel when you're first born and when you're growing up.
Yep.
But it's also a beautiful practice to allow you to come back and feel grounded again.
Yeah.
Like, even just right now, you realize and you see the colors around and it just resets the chemistry in your brain.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly just like so laser focused on what's next, you develop tunnel vision, you stop seeing everything that's around you.
Yep. Which then changes your perspective on things. So Lenny has changed my perspective on everything. And I often speak with my clients about like the lens that you're looking at life through. And sometimes all it takes, and I know you're such a great leader for your community, quite often you'll be like, hey, try these on. Try this pair of glasses on. And they try them on and they're like, oh my God, I didn't see it like that. Because you're so closed off to the way that you look at things that your perspective is completely lost in a dogmatic way of looking at things. And all it sometimes takes, not all the time, is like, hey, try these on, bro. And you're like, oh, I didn't see it like that. And so Lenny has been a completely brand new pair of glasses that I'm just like, oh, fuck. Oh, true. Oh, got it. But nothing was said. Like nothing, there was no teaching, there was no practice, there was no book. It was just pure experience of having my child in front of me that now is this giant mirror back at me. And then I get to look at the world and go, wow. I look at everything completely different now. The people pleaser archetype completely gets shattered because you're like, why would I try and please anyone? I've got everything right in front of me. So like that archetype gets completely shattered.
And we were talking about that just before, saying that you don't want to be liked by everyone.
No.
If you're being liked by everyone, you're doing something wrong because you're not authentic and you're not really embodying who you are.
Yeah.
And have you got that? Are you going to get that quote up?
Bro, I'm going to get that quote, man. I'm going to get that quote.
But just understand, especially as a coach or as a practitioner or even just as a business owner, anyone who uses social media, it is the ultimate form of the test, because you're being seen by the whole world. You're being vulnerable. It's you and your face on the camera and you speaking your truth, and you don't know where it's going to go. It could go to all the people that love you, or it could go to all the people that hate you and disagree with you. And the reflection comes back to you. What are you going to do with that information? What are you making that for? Are you making that for the 99 people who are going to love it, or are you going to make it for the one person that's going to hate it? And who's going to impact you?
Yeah.
And I've spoken about this before. If you're in a room and you got 100 people that have liked a post that you've done, and you see that room and there's 100 people in there, and you see that there's one person in the corner who's talking shit about you, the reality of that situation, you're like, I don't give a fuck about what that person says, because look at all this love I'm getting from all these other people. But in the online world, because it's so abstract, you see that and it's like you're hyper focused on it and you can't let go of it. And that's coming back to you and understanding, okay, if I'm doing what I believe in, who cares what anyone reacts to and says, because it's my truth. But if I'm doing something that I'm not really believing in, but I think it might allow me to feel valued, or people think I'm going to be cool, or people think I'm going to know my shit, then that really hurts when somebody goes against it, because I was seeking validation in the process of it. And it's like a slap in the face when someone says, actually, I don't like that, or I don't like you.
Yeah.
But it comes down to you actually having that trust and that belief in yourself. Because if you have, you're unfazed by anything.
Of course. Yeah, beautifully said. So this particular piece is from Frederick Dodson, which is an incredible deep thinker. And I expanded on it a little bit with my own words, but the feeling of authenticity is its own reward in that it lets you see the world as it really is. You can't really see the world as it really is if you're not really the way you are. If you're putting on a show or a mask, you see the world as a mirror reflection of you. You don't see the world as is, you see the world as you are. That means the more real, authentic you get, the more real the world gets. So as you become more authentic, you start seeing more clearly. And so therefore, if you're not being yourself, you're never going to see the world as what you truly desire it to be, because you're not yourself.
And you're always going to feel lost.
You're always going to feel lost. So you're always going to always think that the world's like out to get you, and you're probably sitting there as the victim because you're simply not being your truest self.
And it's also the fact that you don't know what other people think anyway.
Exactly.
It's you have a perception of their perception of what they think about you. That is what you think about yourself generally. Oh, for me, I think I'm the version that I think Zach thinks that I am. And it's like, but I don't have any fucking idea what Zach's thinking in the first place. If you're someone who's insecure, I'm going to be thinking that you're thinking the worst.
Yeah.
Or you're judging me, or you're hating on me, just talking shit about me behind my back.
Yeah.
And it's that mindset that you can get into because you have an anxious attachment style.
Yeah.
But if you're really confident in yourself, then who cares what he's thinking? Because that is just a reflection on him anyway. And everyone is acting out of their own level of awareness. So their actions are based upon them, not upon you. As soon as you have that realization, it dissolves any hate, any negative energy that you have towards anyone, because you're like, oh, it's just them. It's just a reflection of them in their own state.
Yeah.
It's me living out my authentic self. And if that hurts them or that upsets them, that's actually a reflection on where they're at right now. And if they do the work, then they'll get to the same point as me. And then all of a sudden it's equal. And we're like, oh, we just accept each other for who we are. We don't have this perception. We don't have this expectation, and we're not going to judge what's there.
Yeah.
But it's fucking hard doing that.
Yeah.
And there's that little version of you that wants to hold on. There's that little version of you that wants to hate. There's that little version of you that wants to get triggered, that wants to judge. And we grow up feeding that more and more because of the way that society has become. So in doing that, you can think about, okay, are you still holding on to that energy towards other people? Because it's that famous saying, you're being bitten by the snake and drinking the venom, but you're expecting the other person to die. When you have hatred or you have anger or you have resentment towards someone else, you're trying to direct this energy, this negative energy towards them, but you're actually holding it within yourself, and then it can fester and it can build up.
And what really comes through for me is like how limiting projections can be. So how limiting you limit yourself because you're projecting on what others are thinking of whatever you're being or doing. So therefore, because you're projecting onto them, you limit yourself from then ever doing anything that you desire, because you're already projecting onto others how it's perceived. And it's like, holy shit, how many people out there are staying small and staying stuck and staying where they are. Deep down, they know that they should be over here doing this, but they're already projecting onto how it's going to look from others.
And that is the nocebo effect.
That's the nocebo, yeah.
You're going into it and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this in case something goes wrong. And it's a scarcity-based mindset. I don't want to leave my job, because if I leave my job, I lose my regular safety net of income that comes in every week, and that pays for my rent, and that pays for me to go out on the weekend, and it pays for me to enjoy time with my friends. And if I lose that, then it's gone. Or if I leave my relationship because I'm not happy and I'm not fulfilled in it, I'm never going to find someone else. So I'm just going to settle for this because it feels safe and it's the known. So again, it's like letting go of that.
But what is that still, though? That's still attaching to an outcome.
But you're attaching to the negative outcome. So you're creating this, like, you're creating hell. Hell, the destination between heaven and hell is the same. It's between your left and right ears. And that's the thing to reflect back on, is like, if that's what you're thinking all the time, and you actually look at it and realize what is happening in your life, well, that's a reflection of those thoughts that are coming through.
Yep.
Because that is what you're honing in on. That reticular activating system is looking for things that are going to go wrong, that are going to confirm that story that you're telling yourself.
Yep.
So once you can change your thinking and change your thoughts, then all of a sudden your perception of the world changes and you start to open up to opportunity rather than be stuck in scarcity and see what's going wrong.
So good, man. And then I think this is the quote that you were thinking I was going to pull up is, you are here to understand yourself, not be understood. It is better to be hated for what you are than to be loved for what you're not. That's deep, but also not really that deep. But that hits home that really hits home for me, but I'm only assuming, and here we go, projecting onto others that they would think the same. But I believe this is a lot of people's mission on this earth realm, is to find themselves, is to understand themselves. And it's a big journey to really know who you are, really know the essence of who you truly are.
And you're never really going to know because you're going to continue to grow.
It will
you're
continue
you're
to
continuing
unfold.
to evolve.
Exactly.
And you don't want to really know who you are because then you lose the curiosity.
Exactly right. But you may as well give it a fucking red hot crack and just fully be your authentic self rather than not being curious and staying stuck where you are, though.
And that's also just the simplicity of understanding you've got one life.
Yeah.
So what are you doing fucking around wasting it on things that you don't want to do?
So true.
And worrying about what someone else is going to think. How many people get to their deathbed and think, oh, I wish I didn't say that. I wish I didn't upset that person. I wish I didn't do this. If you're doing it out of your authenticity, you're never going to have any regrets. But how many people are on their deathbed being like, oh, I wish I had have just spent more time with my family. I wish I didn't work so hard. I wish I had left that job. I wish I had spent more time surfing. I wish I had spent more time in nature. That's the regret for so many people. And they've kind of known it their whole life, but it's never got to the point where life has really gotten that bad that it forces a change.
True.
And because of our baseline of understanding what's normal, and this is where the beautiful analogy, the pain teacher comes from, some people just haven't suffered enough to be motivated to make change. And you're lingering in that zone where you can get by, you don't sleep great, you don't have amazing energy, but you're also not going to the doctors every single week. You're not on prescription meds just yet. You're just like hovering in that zone where like things aren't great, but they're not terrible. And that is the comfort crisis that's there. And initially, it's going to be fucking hard to change out of that and move into the zone of creating and starting a new version of living and what that looks like. But then once you've gotten over that initial part, and this is what I always say to people, and anyone who thinks about coaching, I say this too, because there's so much fear initially. Oh, what if I'm not good enough? What if I don't know enough? What if I'm not able to help this person? What if I'm not able to do that? Blah, blah, blah. But then I say, if you could just click your fingers, or that movie Click with Adam Sandler, if you could go on the remote and fast forward 6 months or fast forward 12 months, would you do it? Oh, 100%. Because you've gone past the phase where it's uncomfortable and it's the learning. And it's back to what we spoke about at the start, learning to surf, learning to play bass. If you're focused on the outcome and where you want to get to, you lose not only the process of growing, but you also lose the process of learning. Like things in life should be difficult when it's new, because that is telling you that you're learning something.
Yeah.
If you are struggling to understand something, you've actually sometimes got to deal with that uncomfortability rather than running away from it, because everyone's afraid now of being uncomfortable, being dysregulated, being in a stress state, having cortisol. Like, they're adaptations that are there to allow you to grow and allow you to learn. But if you just continuously get drip fed, like coming back to the conversation we had last episode around AI, if you're continuously being told, this is it, this is it, this is it, then you're not getting anywhere. So I don't think, like, you can't use AI, for example, especially if you're learning something, because it's this, I guess it's the same as Googling. It's the same as researching, right? The information's the information. You've got to learn it one way or another. So if that gives you the information or the answers, perfect. But if that actually outsources your thinking, that's completely different, because you've got to go through the process of learning something and creating new neural networks and rewiring your brain and using neuroplasticity so it's cemented there. You can't all of a sudden bypass that process and then all of a sudden be like, oh, I'm going to retain all this information. I'm going to remember all the different neurotransmitters. I'm going to remember all the different supplements and how the dosages work and what I use them for. And it can be applied to any field, not just in health. And as we see this comfort crisis take over, Uber Eats, like food at your door whenever you want it, Amazon with something delivered straight away. This convenience and this comfort, we're literally going to become the movie Wally. I put a snippet of that up the other day in a reel that I made. You know, in Wally, when he finds the ship that have all the humans on there and they're all fat as fuck and they're on those little hoverboard things and they've got their little like iPhone built into it that just brings them everything like that. That is what the people who have lost their awareness are going to become, because not only are they losing like the ability to adapt and change because everything's become so comfortable, that's happening physically, because they're not having to move as much and they're not having to exercise as much. And now with Ozempic and GLPs and peptides, they're just going to be able to bypass it even more. But they're also going to shrink their brain because they've stopped having to think about things. They've outsourced their thinking power and processing to AI. So those parts of their brain are going to start to shrink as well.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you've completely detached from the modern world. And then there's going to be two versions of humans. There's going to be those that go down that path, and there's going to be those that come back to source, come back to nature and have a really strong baseline that's grounded and continue to do the work.
Yeah. My favorite way of learning is the embodiment practice of what I've learned. That's how learning really lands for me. And so, for example, on my community the other night, I did a presentation on water. And so I went straight to the GOAT. I went straight to Gerry Pollack. And I literally watched his TED talk on water, which is like 14 and a half minutes of just him cooking on water. I watched it like 20 times. And I just immersed myself in it and took little notes and immersed myself in it and took notes. But then when it really lands is when I teach it and I embody what I've learned. Then the wisdom that you gain becomes, or the knowledge that you gain, becomes wisdom, because you're now embodying what you've learned. You're not just receiving more information and expecting that you're going to retain it, because you're now embodying it. And this is what I believe health should be as well. Is, again, last week I spoke about like people know enough, right? And especially if they're listening to this podcast and you're still a little bit stuck, you probably know enough. It's not about knowing more about health. It's about what you can truly embody. And so I don't mind if people use AI. That's all well and good, but not if you're going to sit there and accumulate more information without embodying any of it. There has to be an integration and an embodiment. Otherwise, you are just accumulating more knowledge, and that just becomes more noise. And then more noise becomes a distraction. And now a distraction becomes escapism. And then escapism becomes stimulation. And when you're stimulated, you're never present, because you're constantly then seeking more stimulation. And the stimulation can be a distraction. And so therefore, it's like whenever we desire to learn something, learn little pieces at a time. This is just what works for me, but it could work for you as well. Learn it, embody it, integrate it, practice it. Learn it, embody it, integrate it, practice it. And so therefore, when I was learning about water from the great man, Mr. Pollack, it's like learn, sit in the presence of it, and then go and embody it. And how I embodied that was teaching it. Now, you don't have to teach health, but all of what we're speaking about here, if you desire to learn anything from books or podcasts or AI, is take the information that really resonates with you, and then from that point, practice it and embody it, so then it becomes integrated. It becomes a part of who you are. That is when it then turns into wisdom that you've gained and embodied, rather than you just simply knowing more information.
Beautifully said. And that is like the process that's going to be there for the rest of your life, because it's not an end goal that you get to when you've accumulated enough wisdom. It's an end goal that you get to when you can say, I've truly embodied everything that I believe in and my values. And then again, it's showing up, it's chopping wood, carrying water.
Yes.
That's the aspect of living and the simplicity of it as well, and just being human being rather than human doing. Or
man.
human accumulating.
Yeah, for sure. I had this epic conversation with a client the other night, and I've been sitting with a deep truth that I've been thinking about for a while. And health, what you and I do, what all of this is, I don't think you and I have ever said once that it's easy. But it doesn't have to be complex and complicated. There is a layer and a level of simplicity that you and I both desire to bring into this space, and I feel like we're both doing a really good job of that. As much as we can go deep and we can explore the complexity of it, there is a level of simplicity which is bringing it back to nature. But to expand on that, whatever this is, whatever you desire through the lens of health, through the practice, whatever it might be, it's not easy. And that's okay. It can be challenging and it can be hard, and that's cool, but it can be simple. And when you understand that there is a layer of simplicity, the challenge is in the practice, not the complexity of it. Because if we get lost in the complexity, then that's when it feels like it's really hard because it's complex and confusing and complicated. Fuck, what is it? And then if you're looking at streams of information that are coming in through TikTok, through Instagram, through Twitter, and it's creating more noise, then it's adding more layers of complexity onto it. And now you're like, fuck, I'm lost again. It's like, let's bring it back to simplicity. But also, it is hard. And that's okay for it to be hard. What you just said so beautifully before, like, it's challenging to learn something new. But that's the beauty of it. That's where the practice lies, in the challenge of it. But it's a simple practice though. Playing bass is a simple practice in terms of picking up a bass and just being silly at it. But then all of a sudden it starts to make a little bit of sense. You're like, it's actually quite simple. But the challenge is like you sound goofy and you sound weird and you sound out of time. That's the challenging part. But picking up a bass and practicing is really simple. Getting your feet on the earth is really simple. Getting outside in the sun is really simple. But removing yourself from all the confusion and all the distractions, now that's fucking hard. Are you prepared to do the hardness of it, but remove yourself from the complexity so the simplicity then just shines through and you're like, oh my God, it's so simple.
And how simple is nature?
So
That's
simple.
why, that's the baseline. Watch your animals. They go out in the sun in the morning. They go in the shade during the day. They eat a little bit. They drink a little bit.
Yeah.
They want to exercise. Then they go back into the sun in the afternoon. Then they start to wind down and they go to sleep. And then rinse and repeat. And the only animals that really get sick are the ones that are inside, that have been under artificial light, that have been disconnected from their environment.
Yep.
So you take that back to where you are right now and understand, the closer you get to nature, the more simple health becomes. The further you get away from nature, the more complex it becomes, because man-made problems require man-made solutions.
Of course. Yep.
But even then, some of those solutions are a lot more simple than we realize.
Yep.
The most complex aspect of healing is what you have got going on up here.
Yeah.
Because that can either be your best friend and biggest cheerleader along the journey, or it can be the biggest problem that you will never be able to get past. So working through your belief systems and working through the way that you're wired and understanding that is going to be the biggest limiting factor in terms of you being able to heal. But for understanding the simplicity of how you can get healthy, again, it's been overcomplicated because there's this sense of entitlement with the complication.
Yeah.
If I make it sound really complex and really hard, then I can charge whatever I
They
want
have
for
to
people
buy.
to come and see me. And
Yep.
exactly. And a real, true, amazing coach is the master of the simplicity. You look at the check system. The check system is so simple when you think about it. Happiness, Dr. Diet, Dr. Movement, Dr. Quiet, 6 foundation principles: nutrition, hydration, sleep, movement, breathing, and thinking. 6 foundation principles and 4 doctors. That is the simplicity of the system. But again, if you go to a functional health expert, it's going to be peptides, it's going to be biohacking, it's going to be functional medicine, which all of that stuff plays a role.
Has its place.
But again, that distracts you from, are you actually doing the basics?
Yeah.
Are you doing the fundamentals? And that's the reality of it, is like, to progress with your health, you have to understand, are you doing the fundamentals properly? Because if you're not doing them properly, yes, taking peptides is going to help a little bit. Doing a gut protocol is going to help a little bit. but you're going to get back to square one in the future because the foundations are gone. And that is why we harped on them in so many episodes, and we'll continue to harp on them in so many
Of
episodes.
course we will.
This is the shit that matters. Your nervous system, your circadian rhythm, the food that you put into your body, the water that you drink, the environment that you're in, the people that you're around, the thoughts in your head, that shapes who you are as
Yep.
a baseline. Everything else that's sexy, that's fancy, has a role, but acutely it has a role, and it's not going to be your answer. It's going to push the needle a little bit, but it's not going to be the thing that heals you or fixes you.
Yep.
It's this culmination of, again, coming back to that analogy of pushing a boulder up a hill. It's getting there, getting there. But then all of a sudden, once you're there, it's easy to sustain. And
Yeah.
that's why, and the way that I like to explain it is when there's dysfunction, there needs to be complexity to address that, because dysfunction, the body usually has a simple origin of how it got there,
Yep.
but it develops complexity over time as those dominoes begin to fall. So you need to address that in an acute way with a protocol, with the right supplements, with the right food. But then it's not about relying on that forever. It's about getting yourself to the point where you don't need any of that because you've corrected
Yep.
the underlying foundations that were out of balance. And then that allows you to sustain it longer term. So if you're working with someone and you're still on supplements years and years and years away from starting, ask yourself, like, have you actually got to the foundation? Have you addressed those key pillars that are there that are non-negotiables? Because if you haven't, that's the reason why you feel like you're banging your head against the wall and you're not getting a response. And a similar thing from a mindset perspective, have you actually accepted where you are right now and shown up with gratitude and felt into being in joy and felt into being in love? Or have you just had this laser focus of, I need to get healthy, I need to heal, I need to get better, I need to optimize? Because if that's the mindset that you're in, again, it's going to mirror back to you by looking for the next thing. And it's going to be this rat race and this hamster wheel that you're continuing to run on and never feeling like you're getting anywhere. Because the goalposts are going to continue to shift.
I often think about, like, are we trapped in a system or do we have true freedom with our health? And so the first system we usually get trapped in is the conventional medical system. And usually what happens is we have a problem and the doc goes, oh yeah, I've got a pill for that. And then you leave and then all of a sudden more symptoms arise. And then you go back in and they go, yeah, I've got a pill for those symptoms. And then you're also probably in big food. You're probably also supporting big tech. And then next thing you know, you're just trapped in that conventional system. Then usually what happens from this point is they then find the next system, which is the alternative realm, which is great if the practitioner has true health and freedom as their intention. But quite often, the intention is to keep you in that system, keep you in the alternative system, the functional system. This is the protocol, these are the supplements, these are the foods, this is the elimination diet.
Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat. And next thing you know, you're like, fuck, do I have to stay on like $7,000 a month of supplements and like these elimination foods and like, what, I can't ever eat garlic again and I can't ever have gluten again. You're trapped in the system.
And it's still, it can be a similar energy that's there. That's being mirrored, because again, it's just human nature. If you're working with someone, or if you're someone who owns a business, you need to have clients, you need to have the bills paid. So if you have a scarcity mindset around that, then it's going to be like, fuck, I'm just going to have this client, I'm just going to hold on to this client for as long as I can, because at least I know they're going to keep coming back and they're going to keep paying for a session. They're going to keep paying for my herbs, and that's it, rinse and repeat. But if you have an abundance mindset, you know, okay, I'm actually going to help this person heal, and then I'm going to allow them to create freedom so they don't need me anymore. But then that's going to open up energetically another space for the next person who needs me to come through. And it's going to be this clear energy exchange that's there. But as you're saying, that's something that doesn't get spoken about enough, is that even in the holistic space, there's still that energy of getting you stuck in that cycle, getting you on that rat race, getting you back into those supplements, back into that protocol that's there. And that's a reflection again on who you choose to work with.
Of course.
So you've got to actually choose someone that embodies it and that lives it and breathes it, and someone who is authentic, who is them, who's not going to dance around, who's going to be real with you and is willing to get into the crux of it as well. Like you and I are always the one thing that will always stand out for what we do compared to most other practitioners is you and I are always ready to have the uncomfortable conversation with our clients.
Yeah.
We're always ready to work through the weeds that are there and actually pull them out and dig into them. And for so many people and so many people that are in the space, who wants to do that? It's fucking hard. It's hard having those
course.
conversations. It's uncomfortable. If you don't feel confident in yourself and comfortable in yourself, if I'm asking you to reveal your deepest, darkest truths that are there, how am I going to be able to regulate you in that situation if
course.
I don't feel secure in myself? It's going to make me feel anxious, and then you're going to feed off that energy, and it's just going to be a broken dynamic. But if you're
Yep.
living it and breathing it and you've done the work on yourself, you can guide someone else through that. And more importantly, that is what's going to really create the change.
Yep.
Because how many clients have we worked with that have seen naturopaths, they've seen nutritionists, they've seen functional health practitioners, they've already been in the conventional system, and nothing's really stuck for them or worked or finally fixed things. And then we get to them and we have those uncomfortable conversations and we realize, hold on, you haven't actually regulated your nervous system, or you haven't actually worked through this belief system that's there, that's keeping you limited, that's keeping you in this scarcity-based mindset.
Yeah.
And that's the unsexy stuff, but that's the shit that
That's the
creates
work.
the transformation and the work. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how I started talking about that.
Bro,
but
it was perfect. And what it leads to for me is, and I think this is a really good way to tie all of this together, is, well, when do you ask for help? So when does an individual go, you know what? It's time. It's time to ask for help. I believe there is an element and a practice that you should devote yourself to first. Trust your intuition and trust what you know deep down is right. Remove yourself from all the noise, remove yourself from all the distractions, and go sit on the beach and ask yourself what you truly need. And if you can give yourself what you need, and if you can actually allow health to be then embodied from you simply removing yourself from the noise and the distractions, and you can find a place where you trust yourself and your intuition is now taking over and you're making better choices, awesome. That's freedom. But if along that process where you've given it a red hot crack and you've devoted yourself to the practice and you're still not where you desire to be, that's where I believe we should be asking for help.
yeah,
You know what? I'm going to ask for help. And it's okay to ask for help. But again, I think a lot of people sit there in fear because they then feel maybe a level of like guilt or shame that they need to ask for help. But bro, you see mentors, I see mentors, you ask me for help, I ask you for help all the time. It's okay to ask for help. And if anything, I think it shows a deep level of integrity that, you know what, I don't have the answers. And you know what? I really desire someone to guide me, and I want to listen to the person that has walked the walk and is able to talk the talk and I deeply align with. So in that moment, ask yourself, am I keeping myself limited and stuck because I'm just too scared to ask for help? And in that moment, if you're feeling that deep pull, ask for help, because it's so important. I'm constantly asking people for help. You know, think of this as a metaphor. Like, let's go back to surfing, for example. It's like, you know what? I'm going to give surfing a red hot crack. And I go out and I start surfing and I keep getting caught in rips. What the fuck? I just keep getting caught in these rips and I'm all over the place, but I'm giving it a red hot crack. And I've tried for days, weeks, months, maybe even years on end. And you know what? I'm sick of getting caught in these rips, but I've given it a red hot crack. And there's a guy standing on the beach and he's got a big sign and it basically says, like, I'm the best at reading rips and I'm the best at helping you through rips. And you go and you ask him, you go, hey, bro, can you tell me everything about rips? Because I seem to get caught in them all the time and you seem to be the guru. And you know what? You're a pretty cool dude and I really align. You go, okay, take a seat. Let's talk about rips. What's really going on? Why do you think you're really getting caught in the rips? Yeah, because you're constantly fighting against them. And it's like, take a seat and let's talk through it. It's like, go to the person that you align with, but go to the person that's done the work. not necessarily got the testimonials, but he's clearly super passionate about what they do, and is the guy that knows everything about rips, and you are deeply connected to them, and you can clearly see that they are masters in their craft. Go to them. And it's so important, because then you're not just going to choose any random person that looks like they may know their shit, but you're actually going to the person that's done the work and has been sitting on the beach and looking at rips and studying it for their whole life. And you're like, yep, I want to work with him.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Awesome. That was a great convo.
Mm.
We didn't know where that was going to go.
Nah,
we had a few things.
we never do.
We never do. All raw, all unfiltered,
Unedited.
So thank you everyone for tuning into that wisdom. We just hit the hour mark exactly as you finished that. So I think that was a beautiful way to finish it off and put a nice little bow on it.
Yeah.
We really appreciate all of you. We love you all. Thank you for all your messages. Thank you for all your support. We love all the comments, all the messages, all the reviews, and just continue to come back to that awareness with every episode that you listen to. Ask yourself, like, what did I take away from that? What am I going to do about it, more importantly? And then when the time's right, act on it and do your best by yourself. But if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you're going to have this big aha moment, this big relief, and you're going to be like, fuck, why didn't I do that earlier? But what you'll learn is that everything happens exactly when it's supposed to.
Of course.
And there's divine timing with everything.
Yep.
So as always, friends, lots of love.
Peace.